الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا ومولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فلا تغرنكم الحياة الدنيا ولا يغرنكم بالله الغرور وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم الدنيا خلقت لكم وإنكم خلقتم للآخرة أو كما قال مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم. My respected listeners in Islam, today the topic is wealth, a great ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Our deen gives us instructions and guidance in every aspect of our existence. From the time that we are born right until we depart from this world. And even after our departure from this world, there are things and issues which the deen addresses. For instance, giving isari sawab to people who have passed away, visiting one's parents after they've passed away, going to the qabristan and thinking of maut, etc. Amongst the major issues which our deen has given us a lot of guidance upon is the issue of wealth. Wealth is a very great ni'mat from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but with certain conditions. Amongst the conditions of wealth, of earning wealth, is that it should be earned in a halal way, in a pure manner, in accordance to the ahkam, the divine laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in accordance to the rules and the regulations which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed through the Sharia unto us. Understand well, the acquisition of wealth is an ibadah on its own. Many a times we view people trading, bartering, transporting, purchasing, running their shops, etc. And we're under the assumption, this is a worldly activity. It doesn't deserve much attention. The business is good, but we do not take that particular understanding of the business is good forward. Our business being good is very different from a business that is good to a non-Muslim. The manner that our business is good is very different from what a non-Muslim understands that business is very good. How is our business very good? And something that a non-Muslim will not understand is that we have to conduct our business according to the Sharia. We are not free to buy and sell and to trade as we wish to. But then it's obvious also, in as far as the worldly law is concerned, you will find there are lots of rules and regulations and provisions and conditions for one to trade. Especially in times before, you couldn't trade in a locality unless you had a license to trade. You couldn't manufacture goods unless you had a license to manufacture that particular product. There were certain things that you couldn't trade with at all. You cannot just go and open a gun shop and say, I'm selling guns. You have to go through a very rigorous process. They will want to see your shop, they will want to see your business, they will want to see the safes, they will want to see our securities. You will have to undergo certain training skills. You can't go and deal with explosives. You can't say, well, I want to sell explosives in my backyard, somewhere from the spaza shop or something like that. They will not allow it. You can't trade with liquor. You need a special license from the liquor board or whichever department deals with it. Now in some provinces, they are banning liquor, the sale of liquor after midnight. You can't say, but what's the problem? Why can't I sell after midnight? You have to accept that as in everything in life, there is this one vital issue that we apply our mind to. In everything there will be benefit and there will be harm. In everything in life. There will be benefit also and there will be harm also. يَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الْخَمْرِ وَالْمَيْسِرِ قُلْ فِيهِمَا إِثْمٌ وَمَنَافِعُ لِلنَّاسِ. They ask you concerning liquor and gambling, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam also there was a lot of liquor being sold, being transported, being bought, and there was a lot of gambling that would take place. Is it fine? Is it right? Is it wrong? The Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum were always desirous that before they would do anything, they would inquire from Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is this permissible or is it impermissible? Is Allah Ta'ala happy with us to deal with this trading in this item, or is Allah Ta'ala displeased with us? They would inquire about the wealth that they had. وَيَسَلُونَكَ مَاذَا يُنْفِقُونَ. We've got money, we've got a lot of extra money, what must we do with it? They never assumed their lives and their wealth to belong to themselves. It was always understood that whatever we have, whatever we possess, whether it's our lives, our wealth, our property, our families, all of it belongs to Allah and His Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whatever they say, we are going to do. And Nabi Karim sallallahu alaihi wasallam thereafter would reply to them, like concerning liquor and gambling, قُلْ فِيمَا إِثْمٌ كَبِيرٌ. There is huge sin in it, in both the trading and in transacting, or in engrossing and involving yourselves, either if it's gambling or either if it is trading with liquor. Very huge sin. People like ourselves, when we hear the word sin, we fall asleep. There the Molly goes again, speaking about sin. Isn't there other things to speak about me? Tell us about what the country is going through. We don't understand, my respected brothers and respected sisters at home, understand very well. Our deen is based on sin and thawab. Sin and thawab is what our deen is based upon. You sin, you or myself are going to see the effects of that amali sayyi'ah. Another word for sin is amali sayyi'ah. And if you do good, you are going to see the rewards and the results of amalus salihah, good deeds, brilliant deeds, glittering deeds, deeds that will delight one at the time of maut and even in this worldly life. People underrate sin. They feel, well, Allah is Ghafurur Rahim, and that's it. Automatically they will qualify to be pardoned on the day of Qiyamah. If that were the case, Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wouldn't have shed his blood in order to ensure Hidayat comes to us. And Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam wouldn't have warned us about the grievous consequences of sin. If you take interest, what the punishment will be. Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went for Miraj, and he saw the person swimming in an ocean of blood. He comes to the shore, and somebody is throwing rocks and stones at him, and he goes back into the blood. He can't come out. Who was that person? He was indulged in and involving himself with interest. Do not let shaitan deceive us that I am automatically going to qualify and be pardoned for my sins. See, we all know that if you apply, let's say, you cut your finger and you apply some medication like Germaline, it will ensure that there's no bacteria, etc. Your finger should be fine. So no one takes a knife and say, well, I got a whole stack of Germaline here. I'm going to cut my finger. I got a javelin ready. It will help me. No one is going to do it. Do you understand? If I sin, if I cut my hand, what if it does not cure me? And there are people, they got cut, they never attended to it as it should be attended to, and with the ultimate tragedy that particular finger, etc., became so untreatable that it spread, the sickness that afflicted that finger spread, what is that word? Gangrene. And it's such a thing, at the end of the day, they had to cut off a finger. It's still no cure, cut off the hand. May Allah save us. So sin is a very major issue. There's no thing like small sin and big sin. If your son is, or your child is playing with matches next to a liter of perfume, you don't say it's only 1 liter, It's not drinking by a tanker. No one says, it's not there by the, petrol pump there. It's just a liter of petrol. No one, everyone understands. That 1 liter, you can cause the whole house to burn down, the whole business to burn down. So coming back, there are sins. It's very important to identify which issues are sins, especially with regards to businesses, etc., and which are rewardable, that as Muslims we know we are going to be rewarded, inshallah. Inna Allah la yukhliful mi'ad. Verily Allah Ta'ala does not go against His promise. Every single sacrifice that is made, every single subhanallah that is said, anything and everything that may be done, that is done in order to please Allah Ta'ala, the rewards have been promised. So with regards to wealth, there are guidelines. What can you trade with and what can't you trade with? You can't trade with anything that involves interest. It is haram. Meaning, you sell something and you expect something additional back, and you stipulate it over and above the price. Imam Abu Hanifa rahmatullah, a person took a loan from him, and the conditions were for forwarding the loan were agreed upon. One day Imam Sahib is walking. It was a scorching hot day. Imam Sahib was walking in the shade of a few houses, and suddenly when he came to a certain house, he moved out of the shade, walked under the hot sun. He perspired, he walked, and then came back after avoiding the one particular house, and he came back into the shade of the other houses. So somebody asked him, "Oh Imam Sahib, why didn't you walk in the shade of the house that you left one side?" Imam Sahib said, "That person owes me some money. If I take benefit from the shade of his house, it may be recorded as interest. I took interest. Because he owes me a certain amount of money. Now I'm walking, it's very hot. I'm walking in the shade of other homes. When I came to that particular house, I remembered he owes me money, and I must not take extra benefit from him. And accordingly, I walked away from the shade of his house, did a detour, and came back to the shade of the other houses." So huge and so sensitive and so delicate and so much taqwa he had, that I must not deal with interest. There are only two things in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or for which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala himself has declared war. Allah ta'ala has declared war. I will wage war against you. I'm explaining now. When you say, war broke out, you will find the one country threatening the other country. We will bomb them back to the Stone Ages. You know the Stone Ages, when there was no civilization, technology, people used to live in caves at least, and people used to use stones, basically for this survival, sheltered themselves with stones. They say, we will bomb you back to the stone ages. You don't dare interfere with our country. We'll bomb you to smithereens. So Nabi Karim Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has mentioned, in the Quran, Karim says, فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. If you indulge in interest, then Allah Ta'ala says, I warn you, you are waging a war in Allah and His against Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam are waging a war against you. فَأْذَنُوا. Understand, accept this here. بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. The war is from Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Are you ever going to win a war against Allah and His Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam? How many other ones not, that they took the risk of indulging in interest? People told him it's haram, it's wrong. The sin of interest is huge, it's massive. They said, no, you know what, man? The situation is such, what can we do? We can't pay rent forever and ever. And so they go to a bank and take a loan with interest, and they can't back. In the day you can't pay back, that is the day you see the bank manager's true face. Before that, he's very happy. Oh, what have you got? Have you got any collateral? Collateral means if you want 2 million rent from the bank, have you got any property somewhere or vehicles worth 2 million rand? He say, I got a property. I want to develop it actually. He say, okay, give us the property. We keep the papers. You can't sign it. Until you pay us back, here's your 2 million rand. Now he's excited. He's got huge hopes. He will put up so many flats. He's going to collect so much rental. And he's going to pay back the bank every month a certain amount. And after 5 years, all of it will be his. الذين يأكلون الربا لا يقومون إلا كما يقوم الذي يتخبطه الشيطان من المس. The moment you sign off that form, the moment you go into that agreement, the war has started. The war has started. You planning your plans and you designing and you have in your mind 5 years from now, suddenly you pick up big problems domestically. You may find your health collapsing and you can't understand. You may find you are entangled in a huge, unsurmountable problem. Suddenly you find that you had a lot of hopes, and what happens? The council comes to you and says, you know, you wanted to build on a property, my friend. Sorry, you can't build there on. Why? There is a service road there that's supposed to go through half your property. You can't use it. Now you look at yourself and say, Ya Allah, what musibat. The war is on. Even taking nothing happens, but the effect of that transaction, it will most certainly be seen in whatever you are subsequently going to do. Because the trade was haram. Allah Ta'ala says, mentally you are going to be so affected, you'll behave like that person. كَمَا يَتَخَبَّطُهُ الشَّيْطَانُ مِنَ الْمَسِّ. Somebody who's lost his trace of his senses because of shaitan touching him. You touch the heater, you're going to burn. You touch a very sharp knife. If you're not cautious, they say, you know what, this knife is extremely sharp. Don't even touch it. You touch a electric wire, they say, don't touch it. It's a live wire. We understand when you touch certain things, huge repercussions. Similarly, when we get involved in interest, shaitan is now going to touch you, he's going to affect you. And our mental equilibrium will be affected. That which is right, suddenly we see it to be wrong. That which is wrong, you find it to be right. That which is haram, you are prepared to defend it as if you are defending halal. That which is halal, you stay away from it as if it is haram. That which is temporary, the dunya, we will treat it like it is permanent. And that which is permanent, the akhirah, we will treat it like it is dunya. That which is sun, we will assume that it is thawab, good deed. And a good deed, we can assume it is sin. It is a sin. That which is insincerity, we will assume it to be sincerity. Meanwhile, it's hypocrisy. And that which is hypocrisy, you are going to look at it as piety. That which is kufr, you are going to imagine it's part of iman. And that which is iman, you are going to imagine it's part of kufr. That which is sunnah of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you will consider it to be outdated, in something not worth emulating. And that which is not worthy of being emulated, you are going to crave for it. That is the reality of mas min ash-shaytan. That person who's supposed to be your best friend, and who's supposed to be closest and nearest to your heart, your parents, you are going to view them as if they are enemies. And those that are enemies, friends, that take you off the right path, you will say, I'll give my life for them. What a miserable existence. Your heart will always be restless. Our hearts will always be restless. We invited the war from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Just to have a brand new car, you trade in a transaction where shaitan is a huge, huge hand. So bad is interest. It's not only the person who takes the interest or gives the interest, the one who is witness to the interest, the one who records that interest, the one who is the go-between in that interest transaction. Allah and His Rasul have declared war against them. It's not worth anyone's to take a risk, to say, I am going to get involved in interest. So we have to see where our risk is coming from. Then we find people acquiring wealth, very conscious of the worldly laws, regulations, etc. Certain place, certain zoning has to be done. You can't open a factory in the backyard. You have to go to that certain area which has been zoned and classified for businesses, etc., for factories, industrial, they call it industrial land. You can't do what you want to. Similarly, in a Sharia, you cannot do what you want to. You can't trade with anything that is haram. Photography is haram. I say it very clearly. How many are the Muslim businesses not? There are advertisements which contain huge posters or various companies with photographs on there. How many are the Muslim companies and businesses that when you call them on the phones, especially in the olden times, now it is cell phones, you find ringtones with music welcoming you. You can call it a welcome. It's a sin. How many are the Muslim businesses, may Allah forgive us all, they employ deliberately the most beautiful young girls, young ladies. The employer has got young sons, they are in the business, and young ladies are now working alongside them. And we have had instances, there's supposed to be some overtime, but certain staff members have to attend to important issues. The young stay is alone with a young girl in a shop. May Allah save us. So we have to be very cautious. Earning halal. Kasbul halali faridatun ba'dal farida. Or kama qala alayhi salatu wassalam. Earning is first after the faraid, after our faraid, like you find salah. Go and earn. Halal tayyib. It's a great ibadah. It's a very great ibadah. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. It's not easy. You must remember, a businessman, when a customer walks in there, his heart explodes with hope. No matter whom it may be. He's got a huge hope that this person will purchase the item that he requires from me. He will attend to that person all the time, hoping. Show, display his products, try and win him over, assure him that it is the best price, assure him that he, at times, indulging even in deception. You're not going to get this product anyway, my boss. Never. He becomes a boss now. Huh? The customer becomes a boss. You're not going to get this anyway, I can assure you. Oh, you can walk around. You're not going to get it at this price, I can tell you. Meanwhile, 2 streets down, there's someone else selling it cheaper. Now you see how difficult it is to do honest business. You can understand. Well, you tell him, well, you turn around and say, I've got it at this price, but I bought it at a time when this item was expensive. The price has come down. See somewhere else. It's going to be very difficult. It's going to be super difficult to treat your staff with the respect that they as human beings deserve, paying them on time, ensuring their physical health is not in danger, not ensuring that you do not load them with more work that they can bear. All this here is what they call magaj mari, nothing less than that. How are you going to deal? I'm showing how difficult it is, and I hope the sisters are listening attentively. You think your husband, when he leaves home and makes salam and he gets into the car, he's going on a joy ride? No. He's got to deal with things like this here. We know here in South Africa it's winter, many people are getting ill. Allah Ta'ala grant them all shifa. But imagine if a worker is truly ill for 3 weeks consecutively and is one of your key men, what do you do? He's already taken his sick leave and he's really sick. But you need that forklift driver. No one else knows how to operate it. Do you tell my friend, I'm sorry, you know what, business is to carry on. That means you're out of job. He's now over his allocated period of getting sick leave or whatever else it may be. But we're giving either a warning, now he's in jeopardy, his job is in jeopardy. But he's sick. He's very sick, he's got a fever. He may be lying in a hospital. How difficult isn't it to make decisions at that time? Allah Ta'ala have raham on us. May Allah Ta'ala make it that those whom Allah Ta'ala is blessed with wealth, we make qadr of it. Now we come to the second part of this talk. The one was acquiring halal wealth. By being conscious of how you deal in your business, if it is with honesty, then inshallah, Nabi Kareem Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said the honest businessman will be in the company of who? The company of the messengers of Allah. You will be in the company of Musa alayhi salam, Sulaiman alayhi salam, Dawood alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam. Imagine being in their illustrious company. On the day of Qiyamah, you were them. Why? You sweated. You stressed. My business must be halal. I mustn't in any way do anything haram. So just how the messengers of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in as far as difficulties is concerned, although we can never ever match them, you underwent a great deal of difficulty, so you be with the Anbiya now. With regards to the spending of wealth, some people are quite cautious, mashallah ta'ala, Allah ta'ala increase them also. But when it comes to spending wealth, most of us fail miserably and hopelessly. We will not think there's a wedding and daughter is getting married, mashallah wa ta'ala, the date is set for the wedding. It will always start off, we want a small wedding. Big things start off small, always remember. Big buildings, they first start little small, huh? First piece of cement. Big fire is the first match. Let me give you another nice example. Big wedding, it starts off small. We'll only call 30 people. Only 30 people, not more than that. By the end of the day, the 30 is gone to 300. By the end of the month, it is only Allah Ta'ala knows where the numbers are shooting up, more than a rent rate, I think. It's just going higher and higher. And no one seems to be able to rein and stop this train that is heading for a crash of a lifetime. If the niece has been invited, then the niece will say, my mother-in-law, I can't leave her behind alone. Alright, okay, just put the mother-in-law's name. But who's going to bring the mother-in-law? Oh, her son. But you can't live in his wife. So from just the niece who gone to the mother-in-law with her son and maybe some driver and the list balloons. More and more people. Payment was going to do. Then you look at the actual wedding itself. They want the smartest of cards. Something that, from the moon they must be able to see that wedding invitation card. People are going moon and Chan and Mars and whatever it may be. You can see it's glittering. So and so's son, so and so's the same son, then the grandfather's name, grandmother's name. If they could add more, they could have, but the card is small, they can't get too much names. But there could be a couple people in a queue also feeling my name should also be on. They print these cards. What happens thereafter? So much wastage. A card can cost up to 200 Rand for one card. They pay 200 Rand per card. Is this not wastage? Then they want their weddings in the most exquisite of places, hotels. They hire the hotel, it's a whole day in a hotel, non-Muslim hotel, Muslim hotel, be as it may, everyone gathers there. They have beauty competitions there. Then they have things like, in some places they are even now dancing. They say it's a time for happiness, let's dance. They move a few tables and they start dancing with music. Now ask yourself, where will the barakah come in this particular marriage? May Allah Ta'ala grant us the tawfiq to understand that just as important it is to ensure that the income is halal, it mustn't happen that we spend it in haram ways. People fly. You must remember, when some tragedy befalls us, as our wealth is concerned, it could be a clear, just pure test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It can happen. No such guna was committed. But Allah ta'ala wants to see whether you are grateful or you are ungrateful. So He takes away your wealth. وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِشَيْءٍ مِنَ الْخَوْفِ وَالْجُوعِ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الْأَمْوَالِ وَالْأَنفُسِ وَالثَّمَرَاتِ. He decreases it. Now Allah Ta'ala sees what is your reaction. Is it a reaction of complaining? Not stating facts is something else. It's called hikayat. Complaining is called shikayat. Hikayat is nothing wrong. Somebody says, I'm feeling very, very cold. He's not complaining. He's narrating. There's a difference between narrating. It's a fact. He's not yes, if he says, I can't bear this, why don't Allah Ta'ala why did He make it so cold? Now you are complaining. And that is something that is extremely dangerous. So we have to be very careful that we keep on making shukr unto Allah Ta'ala. Yes, our tabiat will be affected, the business is gone down. But we see there are other ni'mats. This is temporary. How many people have closed down their businesses? How many people had their own businesses, now they are employees? How many people have gone bankrupt and the banks have taken over whatever they wanted to do? So coming back, I narrate to you one incident. I did narrate it before. We again listen to it, inshallah, attentively. This was narrated by Mullah Thanvi rahmatullahi, and we heard it from Mullah Masiullah rahmatullahi. A couple were sitting and enjoying lunch. Suddenly they heard a voice calling out, in the name of Allah, Allah ke naam pe kuch de do, in the name of Allah, give me something to eat, bhuka hu, I'm hungry. So the husband looked at the wife and said to her, you know what, put in a plate this here, put that also, Shame is hungry man. And filled the plate nicely, and she stood up, went outside. She took some time before she came back. But when she came back, he observed that she was crying. So he asked her, why are you crying? Did he interfere with you? Did he tell you something? She said, no, nothing like that. Then why is it that you are crying? She said, I'll tell you the truth. Once upon a time in my life, I was married to somebody else. He says, yes, I know about that. Me and that particular husband of mine, we were eating like how we are eating today. We heard a voice crying out, in the name of Allah, give something. In the name of Allah, give, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. So my husband looked through the window, he said, oh, that beggar is here again. And he called the security, chase him away. Chase him away, let the dogs loose on him. He come in to disturb my meal. Accordingly, this was what was done. She says, I was heart sore, but I don't know what happened thereafter. Everything just went downhill. So he says, I'll tell you something now. You see, that man that ran was a beggar. It was that time I was begging by this door. And when the dogs came charging and they tried to bite me, I cried out to the skies, Ya Allah, you made me poor. I never want to be poor. I don't have food. I went to ask only for food. Look how I'm being treated. A dog wants to eat me. Suddenly, Allah Ta'ala opened the way for me. With little money, I started buying, selling. I bought this, I bought that, I bought properties. And Alhamdulillah, eventually I bought this house and somebody suggested you are eligible for getting married. And I got married to you. She says, I tell you something. After that incident, when my ex-husband chased you away, he was selling, he went bankrupt. It came to a situation he couldn't look after me. He said, I can't look after you, I can't feed myself, where am I going to feed you? You find another husband, and he gave me talaq. Today I'm sitting here with you. That man there was the beggar. We need to be very careful, very cautious, extremely worried if a beggar comes to our door. Remember, he's a visitor from Allah Ta'ala. He's a visitor from Allah Ta'ala. You will find these people pushing trolleys of goods, picking up papers, picking up a plastic. Teach their children, don't waste. See there what Allah has given us. Make shukr to Allah Ta'ala. Conclusion. A nice story I heard recently, which Hakim Akhtar narrated from Pakistan, very pious person, Allah make his maghfirah. He said, come I tell you the story of the bell. What is bell? He said, in a small village in Pakistan, there was a small madrasa started. 20 children or so. A wealthy person decided that Allah Ta'ala has blessed me, I will give the lunch of these poor students every day. I'll make arrangements. Right? They were happy, Alhamdulillah. And accordingly, every day he used to bring the lunch. One particular day he was delayed. And he was so delayed that the children were hungry. Close to Asr, the children were saying, where's the food? Humko bhook lag rahe. They nicknamed that benefactor, the one who used to bring the lunch, they used to call him Bell. Bell means like a bull. He said, Bell aaj nahi aaye. You know, they made a mockery out of him. The bell never came today. The bell doesn't ring the ringing bell. The cow, the bull never came today. They made a joke out of it. Just then, he came with the food, they ate. Somebody told him, you know what, this is why the remarks is children, you know, you trying so hard to help them, and see what they call you a bull and a whatever it may be. He got angry. He said, yeah, what am I doing? Am I supporting this madrasa for this here? They got no manners. I'll never bring one single meal after this, he told the principal. That night he went to sleep. He sees the day of Qiyamah, and he sees the Pul Sirat, and he sees people walking, you know, the Pul Sirat, 1500 years to cross over it takes, sharpened in a blade, thinner than a hair, underneath, wa imminkum illa wariduha. Everyone passes the Pul Sirat. Everyone, even the people of Jannah, but they won't get affected. And the people of Jannah will fall there from that bridge like flies. So he's seeing people are running, somebody is falling, somebody is screaming, others are running, others are like speed of lightning. And he saw the madrasa children, they're laughing and they're running. And he's apprehensive now, he's scared. What must I do? One of the children turned back, they speeded towards him. Well, aye, they grabbed him, and on that, his eyes opened. Because he was sincere initially, Allah Ta'ala showed him that he was spending on the poor. He was spending on the poor, it will help you on the day of Qiyamah. Doesn't mean, I'm not saying I don't, in any way, I'm not canvassing for any funds here for the madrasa. I'm just saying, wealth has been given to you, you must do good with it. You mustn't announce it to everyone. You must keep quiet about it. You must remain silent and tie and lock your tongue. The shaitan will want to, you did so much, you say, no man, that Pul Sirat is waiting for me, it's done for my Allah. I only did it for Allah's pleasure. May Allah Ta'ala grant us hidayat in nek tawfiq. Accumulate as much wealth as you can whilst maintaining the laws of Allah Ta'ala. How much Allah Ta'ala gives you, alhamdulillah, but not in the heart. With the hands you accumulate, you calculate, all part of ibadah. But as far as the heart is concerned, this is for Allah Ta'ala. Speak to the heart, make shukr unto Allah Ta'ala wa akhiru da'wana.